Wow!
Whoa!
Holy cow, look at that.
That's a view!
Oh my gosh, that's probably one of the best views I've ever seen of Lake Travis.
Man, this house has tons of wow factor. Look at that view.
And the view's great, but do you want to hear about some real wow factor?
What's that?
Do you want to hear the history of
I want
property?
to tell,
All right,
bust
so
it out.
It's interesting. First of all, this is a historic marker property.
Wow.
So there's a historical marker at the front of the property. Who do you think back in the day in the 60s traveled from Houston maybe to Lakeway to enjoy those views and the quietness?
Hey, and welcome to the Chris and Garry Show. My name is Garry Kreth, and I'm joined here by my business partner in crime, Chris Scott. And we're here to talk all things real estate. And we feel like we have a voice that needs to be heard in the real estate industry because combined, we have over 50 years of real estate experience in the United States, and we're here to share that with you. And by the way, if you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and also don't forget to hit us up on Instagram at The Paperless Agent. Let's get started talking about this house. I mean, I've seen some clips that you shared with me of you shooting this video with my brother Jonathan. I wasn't able to make it out there to the house, but you allude to some really cool stuff in there, and I am really curious who lived at this house. Like, well, I think everybody here is like, what?
Well, I'll preface it with this, Garry. It's an official historic site, and it's owned by literally somebody who can make the claim to fame that I'm like one of 3 or 4 people in the world who's ever done something like what this person has done.
Now you've piqued everybody's curiosity.
But the whole point behind this, so here's what we did. We had this listing for this wonderful home that we're bringing to the market, and I needed to get a video for it because we always make listing tour videos for our listings because it's one of the best ways to get exposure for it and so on and so forth. So what I did is I asked, and I had one of our video folks come along with us to do a behind-the-scenes shoot of exactly what do we do to make a listing video, because there's definitely a process there, right?
Sure.
And that's what we wanted to capture was, what is the process that we use for making a listing tour video? It just so happens that this home was in a very, very unique home to get this listing tour video or this behind the scenes video. We're going to play a series of clips from the behind the scenes, and then even include a link to the full version of the final product of the video. So there we can see what does it look like.
Let's dissect this for a second, because I assume, like, you and I have never done this, but when you're thinking about, okay, we're going to go shoot a listing video, you don't just show up to the house and just whip out the phone and just shoot the video and then post it, right? There's a process.
There's sometimes I do that.
There's a method to the madness.
There's times that I do that lazy version of what you just described. However, in an ideal situation, I don't do it. In the ideal situation, I don't wing our listing tour videos. I have a bit of a process. It's definitely more organic than, let's say, I don't know, a professional choreographer. But it is a plan, because what we need to do when we're on site is we have to make sure we capture the footage necessary to tell an effective story or an effective narrative about that home. The last thing we want to do is get home and, look at the footage and realize that we forgot something. Now, there's even ways, like, we forgot a critical piece of information.
You were sharing with me, you're like, oh my gosh, I got home, I was reviewing the footage, and you're like, I missed. What did you miss?
I missed the close. So in every video, there's an open, the body of the video, and a close to the video.
Okay.
We were so excited about whose home this was and the history behind this home that I was just kind of like, as we were packing up, I was just like, it didn't even occur to me to film the close.
But that's okay, right?
I'm not going to go back. That's the thing. It's a bad experience for us to keep going back to the seller saying, oh, I need to get in there.
It's a bad experience for the seller, but it's also a bad experience for you.
So first thing to keep in mind is I need to make sure I get all of the footage to tell an effective story. And so the first thing that I do, especially if it's a listing tour video, what are the key elements of a listing tour video? Well, the highlight features of the home is the most important stuff to capture about every home. So,
and it's because that's what's going to excite people to say, ooh, I got to call Chris and Garry and go see, I got to schedule a time to go see this.
Fact of the matter is, that's what people want to see in a listing is the highlight features. They do not care about the third bedroom and the connecting bathroom to the third bedroom. Like they just don't care about that, right?
Right.
Unless the third bedroom has something really, really unique about it.
What you're doing is you're wasting time on that video, and you're actually giving the viewer an opportunity to say, on to the next.
Right. So you think about, like, with every video, you need to have an effective hook. And so the opening and in the information leading up to that hook, it has to be effective. Now, here's the thing. Every listing video has a hook. It's what are the highlight features of the home? That's what the viewer wants to see. Now, I tend to lead with the highlight features of the home. I don't actually make them wait. I like to lead with the best feature, and I put that first and foremost within a home. You know, it goes back to like that concept of when you're meeting somebody or dating somebody, you always put your best foot forward, so to speak. And so here's the thing. When it comes to video, you do need to put the best thing forward because you're trying to sell a home. The last thing you want to do is put the messy garage as the first thing that they see. and everyone has certain things that they want to see if they're evaluating a home. They want to see the kitchen, right? Like, that's a big deal. They need to see the kitchen and what the kitchen looks like and sort of the general plan of how that kitchen fits into the rest of the home. They need to see the master suite. That's like a really big deal in terms of those are the two big determining factors: is what's the kitchen like, and then what does that bedroom suite look like? Now, those aren't always, actually, usually it's not. Usually those aren't the highlight features of a home that we might be going to. Sometimes they are, right? I think we filmed a listing over in Spicewood about 2 months ago, and you know, like, the bathroom was pretty dang impressive. It was a retreat spa-like bathroom, and we featured the heck out of it. So that's the first thing that I do, is I think about the highlight features of the home. So the first thing I do when I show up with your brother, for example, when we got this video, is I show up, we sit down, we talk a little bit about what, you know, the seller thinks the highlight features are, what Jonathan thinks the highlight features. Then we'll do a walkthrough of the home. You know, we'll walk through and we'll talk about it. You know, that we was like, okay, that will be the highlight feature. Yeah, I agree with that. But in the walkthrough, what we're doing is basic level choreography, meaning that, okay, where do we want to start? Because we don't always start at the same place all the time.
No, you don't start at the curb. You don't start at the front door every time. You want to start where is the exciting feature. So
exactly.
Let's talk about this. Okay, So for this video, first share with everybody, as you guys sat down, how long did you invest into the thinking through the process and the choreography?
This one a little bit longer, because one of the highlight features of this home is the history of the home.
Okay.
And so this one took a little bit, but no more than 5-10 minutes. I mean, we're not there like an hour or a half hour talking about what we're going to do. We piece it together pretty quickly. So you may know what the highlight features are, but putting it into a story or the arc of a story that will be reflected in the video, that takes a little bit of thinking through, right? Not like excessive planning by any stretch of the means, but even something as simple as, where are we going to start this video? Am I going to start outside or am I going to start inside?
And where did you guys start this one?
So here's the funny thing. I didn't fully understand and appreciate the highlight feature of this home until we got into the making of this video. So in this particular one, I originally thought the views of this home were the highlight features, because it's a home, it's sitting over Lake Travis at one of the wider parts of the lake or part of the river. And so it's got this amazing view that is accessible from every aspect, every part of the home. You can see this view. So what my first thought was, that's got to be the highlight feature of the home, is this view. So we're like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to highlight feature this home? Because I knew about the historical part of it. Until I started really making the video, I don't think I quite appreciated how much of a hook that was going to be, the history of the home and who owned it. I didn't realize that until I started talking through and walking through, and even it didn't really finally cement until we started editing the video. That's when I realized, yes, from an experiential standpoint, the views are the highlight feature. But if you're trying to get someone's attention to watch this video to learn about those views, who owned the home and the history of the home was actually the greater hook.
All right, Chris, that's enough talking about the hook. Let's actually show them the hook so they can see what we're talking about here.
All right, let's walk through this bad boy. And
one big thing. So the owner put together a little write-up about the house.
Ooh.
I know quite a bit of this. You need glasses.
I do. Sorry.
So there's some really cool history to this home. So I didn't want to fill you in too much until you got to see this. So This is going to be kind of our
No way.
what we get to focus on.
There's like a really big reveal about this house. I didn't know this.
Yeah,
This should be considered like a historic landmark.
and it actually is. There's a
Oh,
there's a little plaque. It is a historic landmark.
If you're wondering what's so special about this house, this is actually astronaut Alan Shepard's historical landmark home. So he's one of the 7 original Mercury 7 astronauts. And the first American launched into space into 1961. So this was his house.
See, I kept it from you to
this is so
surprise you. Not too
cool.
bad, huh?
Oh, this story sells this house. That's so
So here's
cool.
something that's cool too, and this just keeps getting passed down from owner to owner. I mean, and it's just something that goes with the house. That's the real deal.
Oh, wow.
Is that not so cool? And then you got that one, and then this other Life magazine.
That's too
I mean,
cool.
you feel kind of like you're on a little bit of
I-
a special place here.
This is like, oh man, this
then the
feels
last
like
one-
we're like on sacred ground here in
Yep,
sorts.
sacred ground. And then there you go.
There he is.
Is that not so cool?
There he is. Oh, wait, I feel something percolating here.
Yeah. You see, now it's, yeah.
The line is something like, you know, the guy who saw all of the world in one shot picks this spot to build his like a perfect view. Right?
Yeah.
Because he's somebody who would have been one of the first people to have that unique view, right?
And
And-
in the end, one of the first individuals to have this sort of unique picking of views here in
Right.
the Lakeway area. The other piece, how cool is that? Commander and Mrs. Alan Shepard. I mean, that's like
That's legit right
that
there.
is legit. Wow.
This is like a historical document now,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
actually kind of is. Yeah.
So those are some highlight features of a home. That is
That is wow factor stuff
Yeah.
right there, right? So then the balance of the video, and really all of the, like when you look at that home, it's the fact that of who used to own it, you know, and who built it. And then the second thing is the views are insane in this house. Everything else is like, okay, the house has been updated. The house, you know, like it's nice, but those are the overwhelming
Got it.
factors of this house. And so that's what we tried to really capture in the video. We end up doing a little bit of a walkthrough, but we don't really walk into any, like at that point, it's like, what else is there for there to see? Do they really want to see the bathroom? No, they don't care about that. We reference, as we're talking, we reference the fact that this particular home, even though it was originally built in the 60s, many of the homes are older over there anyway, but how back then, storage space really wasn't a priority back then versus to these days, homes and thinking about where you're going to store your stuff is a really big deal. But older homes, they didn't consume as much as we do these days in modern times. So they didn't have a need for the stuff. However, this particular home has a ton of storage space. And so we make a lot of jokes saying, well, if you were an astronaut who was going to the moon, you'd probably want to make sure you have enough storage space to get there and to come back, right? Like you want to make sure the equipment you need to get there will get you there. And also the equipment and stuff you need to come back will also get you home. So storage space obviously is a big deal to an astronaut, right? So we kind of joke around with that in the video. And it all plays well. And that was organic. That kind of came out of it while we were doing the talk.
You know, you just said an interesting word because we don't script our videos out. We choreograph a little bit. We have some talking points, but it's very organic.
Mhm.
Why is that such an interesting or such an important feature of these listing videos that we shoot?
So I'll be honest, we could attempt to script them out, but we would be there for 2 or 3 days. And the seller doesn't want us there 2 or 3 days.
They're like, "Get out of my home."
You know, I mean, it's like we're there 2-3 hours already. And we got to kick them out of the house. I mean, not kick them out. They got to they didn't have to leave, but they got to be out of the way.
Isn't the organic? That's more interesting. That's more interesting to watch as a viewer.
Well, organic is hard unless you're using a really specific format. And the format is what I would call the show and tell format. You guys remember from kindergarten? The way they got us talking in kindergarten is they would say, pick an item, any item. Well, these glasses here, these glasses. And so you show and tell it. You show the item, check out these glasses. I can put them on, I can take them off. It's easy format because all I have to do is react to a thing. And there's actually a whole trend of videos online right now called react videos, where people will watch a video and react to the video.
Right.
Well, that's what we're doing with those highlight features of the home. We're simply reacting to the highlight features or reacting to the house. And that is authentic, and it comes across as authentic. And also doesn't require that you think about every word you're going to say. Literally, you react to the home. And if you wear your hat of persuasion on, saying, well, I'm trying to react to this home in a positive light so that someone will be interested in it as a real estate professional, that's absolutely something we ought to be able to do if you're used to showing homes. So it's not doing anything that, I mean, here's the thing, Gary, when you would show a home, do you script out what you're going to tell the buyer? No.
Absolutely not. I mean, I love what you're talking about, because you need to understand what the buyer is interested in, what their focus is, and then you actually have a conversation about that. But walking through a house and saying, I this drives me nuts when listing agents will tour me and my buyers through these homes, and they say, well, let me show you around. This is the kitchen. This
I
is
know.
the
I can see that. They're not adding any value through their comments, right?
No, they're adding annoyance is what they're doing. All right, so Chris, we've talked a lot about the walkthrough process. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at that clip so everybody can see what that's like.
Yeah.
So then, all right, so the most when you first walk in, obviously everyone said the same thing, like, oh wow, look at that view. I'm not sure which is the better selling, like the initial wow factor though, because like the unique history to this home is actually so unique. It's so unique, you almost want to lead with that and then tie that into this.
In my opinion, is the history, I think, I mean, while the view is great, I feel like the history is so sacred.
Yeah, it makes it really special.
And he also wrote it up in that note as the first part. So I feel like that's something we need to hit. Right
Well,
out the
You
even-
can do both pretty quickly. Like if you walk into this room, everyone said the same thing. Wow, what a view. Say like, yeah, Al Jeffrey said the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you can just launch into this.
And we'll want to have these.
You will want to display
we'll just-
these and have that in the video.
And maybe that's the way to do it, is we have it there, but then we bring it out onto the coffee table and walk through it.
All right, so we know we got that history to
Yeah.
work with. We've got that view to work with. Let's walk around a little bit and see what else we should. Oh, look, there's stamps there too, with Alan Shepard on it. That's cool.
Over the years, there have been quite a bit of upgrades within the kitchen and the bathrooms. That was in 2010. This owner put in all the hardwood flooring to extend all the way through the main level. And then a big piece is when they bought, all these doors and windows were original. If you think about the air coming in from back in the 60s, so they replaced all these to make it more efficient. And they redid ductwork, HVAC system, all this stuff. So I think that's just from a efficiency perspective, even though it was built in the 60s, to bring
It's
that,
been upgraded
bring that
and
into
updated.
play of that's been reworked.
All the modern amenities.
Yeah. There's a plunge pull out there, so I brought some beach clothes just in case we want to do something like that. You know how I like
we might have to do that just to cool down.
just to cool down. So,
Yeah,
kitchen, everything you need, very simple. I like how it just, everything flows straight into that living room.
But this kind of becomes like
This is it. I mean,
right here. You're gonna spend all your time right here.
So back here we got 2 bedrooms plus an office, or it can be 3 bedrooms. Every bedroom does have an ensuite bath.
Oh, nice.
So the good news is we got lots of bathrooms here. And then you got master over here. So good view, the pool plunge being off of the master, I think is, and that was added in 2012. So it's not original by any means to the house.
Well, they didn't have infinity pools back then.
They didn't have that back then. And then bathroom, pretty simple. You got shower, separate shower, and then jacuzzi tub. I don't know how much we hit in here, if anything, because it's, it's kind of your standard bath and whatnot.
Yeah, I think this, and back here, it's really about the continuity of that view, because it really is the same view that's over there, but now it's over here.
Yeah, and from the pool, and yeah. And then secondary bedroom here. And then down here, kind of media room, game room. And I mean, this is a full bath here, so it could even be a guest room if desired. And then there is a working, yeah, see? So isn't that cool? Kind of some fun history in the house. You got the, I don't know if that's how it was designed, but yeah,
I think that's how you scratch.
that's how you scratch it up. And then there is, in the garage, there is a sweet little storage area for tools and whatnot. So I mean, this is kind of nice.
Yeah, having your workroom
Yeah, where
separated
it's completely separated. And not that we need to say it, but a lot of this stuff is obviously built in, so a lot of it's actually going to be staying. I think this is once again, for this age of home, you don't have this sort of stuff all that often. All good?
Yes. All right, so let's sit down
Yep.
and we'll just kind of chit chat about what our options are here, what our plan is going to be.
And I think the biggest piece of this is going to be the first 2 minutes of what we video.
Yeah.
Coming in, view. I almost wonder if you and I just, almost like what I did, is share with you the Time magazines, and we just talk about that.
I think we need to pretty much, yeah,
I think
lead.
you catch people's attention with the view, and then
You
keep
pull
their
them in
attention
with the story, yeah,
and then you can
and then
like,
tie
highlight
that.
features of the house.
Pulling it out like this one, because there's this story, it makes it really different. Normally when we would do it is like we'd be able to point to 3 features of the home and like, look at this, and look at that. This one has a little bit more to articulate because there's a real unique story, historical story, and it's evidenced by all this cool artifact, right? Whether it's
plans, the Time magazines.
exactly. So that makes it extra interesting. So what about this? So we walk in, Jerry, well actually Kyle, you'll be on the inside. Both of you guys will be on the inside, right? So we walk in and you got a cat like, wow! And then it's showing that view. And then immediately you can go, now you want something to be really wowed about? Let me tell you a story about this house.
Yep.
And then we look at the Time magazines. Actually, maybe we just spread it all out, like get all the Time magazines in the floor plans.
Kind of put them in different spots.
And then we can point to like, hey, check this out. Hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. That's a good way to tie it all together as we go through the different features. So that would be 1. And then 2 would be probably
The deck in the pool.
The
just
deck in the
outdoor
pool.
living. Yeah.
and then probably 3 is, so the first one is the view, but then like the actual, this is where you're gonna be spending all your time and kind of talking. Okay, that works, yeah. And then kind of speed through some of the,
tour of like the rooms and everything.
Yes.
As you and I have made videos over time, what I realized in making these listing videos, to make them, one, interesting, because there's so many boring ones that are out there, and there's so many that are really overly produced. What we're trying to do is make this cost effective. We want it to have wow factor. We want it to be a representation of not just the listing, but we also want it to be a representation of us, because it's helping us cultivate listing business, is that it needs to come across the right way. And so the best way to do that is to be able to pick those highlight features and react to them. We come across as authentic. It's very organic. It's real feeling. And it's interesting for that matter, right? Imagine if we were trying to script it all out and you could see my eyes reading from a teleprompter and I'm very uncertain about it. Like, it's just not going to work.
No, I'd get bored. I would get bored. Plus, I mean, if you're, like you said, if you're walking through and showing this is the living room, this is the first bedroom, this is the second bedroom, this is the third. I mean, my eyes are going to gloss over. One, that video is going to be like 30 to 40 minutes long.
Right.
Nobody's going to watch that darn thing. They'll never get to the close and the call to action, which we want them, like, that's part of the hook and making it interesting, is having the eyeballs watch the entire video and get to the call to action and then having them take action.
So that's more about the process that we use, which is it's a blend, right? It's a blend of planning and organization, but then also being organic and spontaneous. And of course, what's great about video is we can clean so much of it up in the production process, right? As long as we're getting the actual footage that we need to tell the story, you can clean it all up in production. Now, granted, like I don't, you know, most of our audience here is not, they're not going to be editing their own videos, but they will be acting as like the producer of their videos if they're having somebody edit for them. And that's the thing you want to keep in mind if you're working with somebody to edit your videos, is you're thinking through that what we just talked about, right? What are the highlight features? What are the hooks in this video? You know, how do I show this home in an interesting and sort of organic and authentic way? How do I do this in such a way that reveals my expertise as a real estate agent, right? Like a part of this video is not just to sell this home, it's also to be able to show to prospective sellers, this is what we do to sell homes, and this is who I am, my expertise, this is what I like to work with, you know, when I show up to your house. So it's also marketing for future listings. And you want to think about that because you want to show up in the right ways. You know, you show up reading a teleprompter and you're not talking about anything really interesting about the home. Any prospective seller is going to be like, what's this garbage?
Nope.
You know, like, what is this? Why are they showcasing the third bedroom's bathroom and the ugly wallpaper in it? You know, like, doesn't make sense. And so by just kind of repeating this process over and over again, that's how we've gotten to where we're business owners. We got a lot going on in our lives. I can't spend days making, you know, a listing video. I got hours to make a video, all in, right? Like the production, the editing, all of it has to just be hours, not days.
All right, well, that was awesome. Chris, thank you so much for going out, shooting the behind the scenes, and sharing with everybody your expertise of how to shoot an effective listing video to hook people in, show them those features, and make sure that there's a call to action. And by the way, if you liked this video and you want to see more like it, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And if you like this video, hit the like button. And also don't forget, if you got any comments, make sure that you comment down below. And we look forward to seeing you in our next episode.